So the New York Times recently interviewed Pete Buttigieg. Now, I want to show you this clip because this is just, I think it speaks for itself in terms of Buttigieg and how dishonest this man is.
You've been on the front lines of corporate downsizing. You've been on the front lines of corporate price fixing. You've been on the front lines of our misadventures.
I'm sorry,
of our misadventures in foreign policy. You've had direct experience of many of the things that make a lot of young people very angry about the way that this country is operating right now. You don't seem to embody that anger.
So the proposition that I've been on front lines of corporate price fixing is just to get that out of the way.
You worked for a company that was fixing bread prices.
No. I worked for a consulting company that had a client that may have been involved in fixing, or was apparently in a scandal. I was not aware of the Canadian bread pricing scandal until last night.
You've been on the front lines of corporate downside.
Look how he answers that. Let's watch this one more time, because this is amazing.
A company that was fixing bread prices.
No. I worked for a consulting company that had a client that may have been involved in fixing, or...
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. Like, it's... He's like, he answers the question by just confirming what the guy just said. Pete Buttigieg, with his history at McKinsey, clearly did a lot of horrible work. I don't know if he is directly involved in the bread price fixing scandal. This was a thing that happened in Canada. Dealt with actually, let me bring up the link here. Story from Maclean's. Loblaws price fixing may have cost you at least $400. Any way you slice it, Canadian bread shouldn't have cost this much. Let me read a little piece of this. As Maclean's noted last month, from 2001 to 2015, the consumer price index for bread rose dramatically more than did the average for all food prices. In addition to tracking bread for the key inflation measure, Statistics Canada also reports the monthly average price for a loaf of bread. The loaf that cost you $1.42 in July 2001 was $3.04 in March 2015, more than double the Ahem dough. Kevin Greer, a food market analyst based in Ontario, measured what bread should have cost if it rose in tandem with overall food price inflation. By 2015, there's a $1 gap between the real price and Greer's price. If a family buys one bagged bread per week for a year, that's a $52 difference. A lot when you compare it to the $25 gift cards Loblaws has offered as their mea culpa for 14 years of fixing prices. The average price gap from 2002 to 2014 was 55 cents, Greer says, or that one loaf per week over that period may have plumped up a grocery bill by $371.80. So it's unclear if Buttigieg had a role in this specifically, but this was the kind of thing he was involved with. So look, a lot of people out of college take jobs that they don't like. And maybe jobs like this where they actively did bad things. But the way to respond to this is not to deny. It's to say, yeah, I was 26 years old. I, just finished university. I had this job offer. It sounded interesting. And I took the job. And now looking back, clearly, we did a lot of things that we shouldn't have done. I was involved in work that I shouldn't have done. And move on from there. Say, I've learned, I've changed. This is why I support this policy. I don't support what I did back then. We make mistakes in our lives. This is a mistake. If he just did that, I really think most people wouldn't hold him to this. They would think, okay, he's admitted that he did horrible work. He's changed, and he has now committed himself to, fighting for people. But because he hasn't shown that, he hasn't shown a commitment to fighting for people, and he hasn't admitted to the mistakes that he has made in the past in working for McKinsey and doing work like this, then how can you possibly trust Pete Buttigieg to fight for you when he's denying these obvious kinds of things, that the kind of work that he was involved in when he was younger? For politicians to act like they had perfect lives, they never did anything wrong, it's so completely dishonest. That's why when you have someone like Bernie Sanders, who has been authentically Bernie Sanders for 40 years, you know who the man is. He's fought for the same thing the entire time. He was fighting for issues when nobody was paying attention. So you have a candidate like that who actually has a track record you can look at, and someone who's going to admit when they made a mistake. I mean, Bernie Sanders admits his vote on the war in Afghanistan was a mistake. Only Barbara Lee voted against that war. He admitted on a debate stage, yeah, he made a mistake. Like, people respect that. People respect you when you can admit that you made a mistake. So for politicians like Pete Buttigieg to not be able to admit that, I think it tells you everything about who that politician is.